Hey guys, Jay here. In this final chapter of the graphics section of this course, we'll be looking at post-processing effects. With post-processing effects, guys, you can add a lot of polish to your game. This is usually the final step of your game. And with this, we can create ambient occlusion. We can create some really nice tinting to the game to match the colors, some color grading. We can do some vignette effects. We can bring in some motion blur and things like that. With these effects, guys, your game is going to look really polished. So let's jump into it. Alright guys, for post-processing, simply, you guys should already have your post-processing stack inbuilt with Unity. With the latest versions of Unity 2020 and upward, you should have post-processing already inbuilt. With post-processing, guys, what you guys can do is add a lot of effects to your game, which makes your graphics so much better, right? You can do vignette, you can do color filters, you can also color match, sort of match the environment that you're in. You can add things like chromatic aberration, for horror games, for example, and you can even add bloom. A lot of effects like this make your game so much better, right? So what I'm gonna do here, guys, is simply click on my main camera here, and then go to your add component on the right hand side and search for post-processing layer. Okay, with this, guys, we gotta select a layer for your post-processing to be applied. I'm just gonna click here and select everything. Okay. And what we're going to do next is go to add component and select post-processing volume. Just search for post-processing volume. With that, we also have a setting called ease global. Make sure you check that on, right? And then what we need is a post-processing profile. All right. So I've got a simple profile set up here already, but we're going to create a brand new one. All right. So I'm just going to show you what it would look like at the end. So if you go to one of these post-processing effects, can you guys see the difference? This is without post-processing, with post-processing, and this is with another post-processing effect that I've created. Let's go with this one. I'm going to show you what these settings are. But before that, just click new. If you guys don't have a post-processing effect, it's going to immediately create a post-processing profile for you. Since I've already created one, I'm going to go back into that one. All right. See how the look of your game suddenly changed. The shadows are looking much better, and so on and so forth. Here are the effects that I've used, guys. I've created ambient occlusion over here. So when you guys create a profile, these should already show up. If these don't show up, that means it's a blank one. In that case, just simply go to add effect, Unity ambient occlusion. Let's start with that one. All right. I've got ambient occlusion set up here, and I've selected the mode to multi-scale volumetric obscurance. With this, guys, it's going to look really nice. The edges, the corners are going to be pretty nice. It's going to be kind of dark, but it adds that effect of really defined shadows. As you guys can see, the game is looking much better. I'm going to turn off my gizmos for a bit. There you go. And then I can turn off this grid, actually. Turning off the grid will make it much more clear. There we go. And then what I can do other than that is just to play around with these thickness modifiers and things like that. I'm going to keep it at 1. And you can also change the intensity, which makes your game darker, right? So this is great for horror games as well if you want to play around with these settings. The next thing I've added is bloom, guys. With bloom, basically what it does is it adds this really nice blurry and also kind of a faded look to your lights. I don't know how to explain it. It's more of a visual effect. And if I increase this value, you guys can see the sort of intensity of your lights suddenly have this softness to it, right? I don't know how to explain it. That's kind of weird to explain, but I'll keep it at around 5. A little bit of bloom is really nice. Might even increase it a bit more. There we go. I think around 12 is good. And then threshold, you can play around with that to obviously increase how far ahead it kind of spreads. And that's the bloom effect. Another thing I've done is color grading here. So I've turned that off right now. I haven't really added that much color effects here. But feel free to play around with this to sort of tint your levels. So if I just play around with this, you can see that I can change the tint of the game. But right now it's pretty good. Let me just play this and show you guys what it looks like. Boom. It looks really polished, guys. And the shadows are looking much better. Environment itself is very good looking right now. So immediately you guys can see the difference, right? So I don't have the post-processing turned on for my aim camera, and that's why that is not showing up in my aim camera. So make sure that you apply the same post-processing effect and the same post-processing layer to your aim camera as well. So I'm going to do that right away. I'm going to go to my player, go to my combat camera, and I'm going to turn it on for a bit just to see what it would look like. Go to post-processing layer, and I'll select everything, and then add component, post-processing volume. So you guys don't need to add the volume all over again, simply because you only need the volume once in your game, just in one game object. So I'm going to remove that. Just add your post-processing layer to the other camera and make sure you have one other volume set up. All right, that being said, you can immediately see that effect take place here. So that's pretty nice. I'm going to turn this off again. Actually, I might keep it on just for previewing. Now, I can make a couple more changes. If I go to my main camera and post-processing effects over here, let's add a few more effects just to sell this really well. Just go to add effect, Unity, and you can go to vignette. I really like having a little bit of vignette in my games. Just select mode here, classic, color is black, and intensity, and I can sort of modify this as well. As you guys can see, that faded effect from the sides, the corners, are really coming to play here. So I'm going to keep it very lightly like this. And another thing that I really like to do is to add chromatic aberration, just a bit, not too much. All right, so just go to chromatic aberration, turn this on, and then turn on intensity, and basically pull it up a little bit like this. As you guys can see, notice these corners, how it kind of stretches and adds that kind of horror kind of effect. Too much will make it look very trippy. If you're going for that look, well, good, go for that. But I'm going to add just a bit, not too much. All right, you guys can see there's a little effect there at the corners. Another thing you guys can try is motion blur, but keep in mind these are pretty expensive effect. It kind of slows down your game a little bit. Your frame rate will go down a bit. I can demonstrate it just a bit. Right, so oops, I was in my aim camera, so let's get rid of the combat camera for now. Yep, so a little bit of motion blur is really nice, but just keep in mind it takes a little toll on your FPS, so it's always good to add that as an added option in your settings. Let your players decide that. Looks really good, guys. Nice. So I've yet to sort of optimize this area because it's kind of hard to traverse this, but this looks pretty good so far, and I can now climb these areas and explore. Yeah, there's a little bug there that I need to get to. So if your ground is not properly set up, guys, you can have issues like that. So let's see. Obviously, there are some bugs that I need to fix, these certain areas, but let's get to them slowly. So these areas are kind of hard to traverse right now because there's a lot of colliders that I need to get rid of. But overall, I think it's looking very nice. Oh, I got a lot of enemies over there, guys. Couple bugs there, guys. There we go. Oops. Alright. That's it for post-processing, guys. As you can see, cut that part, that was very buggy. As you guys can see, the post-processing makes your scene that much better. Look at this environment, it's very beautiful. It's beautiful, guys. And I can really explore this area, and look at this, it's superb. It really sells the effect, and feel free to play around with those settings, guys. But when I get to this area, look at how grand and mystical this looks. It's amazing. And I'm gonna add a bit of lighting as well, just to make this statue very clear. And to do that, guys, I'm gonna immediately show you within this chapter itself. We can basically select this statue and then right click, light, and spotlight. All right, here's a little effect that I'm going to do. So this statue is kind of not clear because it's kind of dark. What I'm going to do is I'm going to point a spotlight at it so that it's basically shedding some light on it. All right, So I'm gonna sell this statue really well and make it look very mystical. So I'm gonna increase the range here using these settings, and then also angle as well, maybe this much, and I'm gonna increase the intensity. So there you go, we can immediately see the lighting take place. It's a bit too much now, it's kind of getting in the way of this, which I don't like. So I'm gonna pull it up a bit like this, and I'm gonna increase the intensity. All right, that's too much. Range, there we go, that's much better. Okay, and reduce intensity a bit and rotate it up. There you go, this looks pretty good. I know it's not very realistic, there's no spotlight over there, but it's really nice. It's really adding that effect to this area. So I'm gonna zoom it out a bit like this and do this so that this, and I can reduce the transparency. No, transparency doesn't take place here. You just go to yellow, make it a little bit yellowish, kind of match with the environment, and immediately you guys can see it really makes the statue pop, makes it look really nice, and this entire area is very grand. So when the player comes through this area, they immediately see this grand statue and this environment, which is basically your final puzzle. That being said, guys, if I were to zoom out, this is what the environment now looks like with all our graphic settings. Feel free to rewatch this and set these settings up. I'll also include my post-processing profile down in the bottom, so you guys can simply replace and add it to your game as well. So here's how you can apply it. Just go to your main camera, and this profile here, I'm gonna save it down below. You guys can download it. Feel free to download it into your project and drag and drop it here, and then you'll get the same color effects that I have. All right, guys, that's about it. In the next chapter, we'll be setting up the final puzzle mechanics and the end game mechanics as well, and then we'll be finalizing our game. Thanks, guys.